Hi! Today we continue talking about modal verbs, and in this lesson we'll speak about modal phrases, or as they are sometimes called, periphrastic modals. The name suggests that they paraphrase the ideas that modal verbs can convey. Periphrastic modals also can express permission, prohibition, suggestion, ability, and many other things that modal verbs express. But unlike the true 9 modal verbs that we discussed in our first lesson, periphrastic modals or modal phrases do not behave like modal verbs grammatically, which makes it possible to use them in contexts where modal verbs cannot be used. Today I'll speak about 12 periphrastic modals. I tried to make my list exhaustive so nothing is left behind. Let's now take a closer look at what phrases I'm talking about. As the name suggests, these are structures that paraphrase modal verbs. They express modality in other ways than the true modal verbs. There are true modal verbs like must, will, should, may, might, can, could, and there are periphrastic modals, which paraphrase the ideas that each of these modal verbs expresses. So, for example, if I want to express obligation, I might use must, but also I can use have got to or be bound to. In those sentences, for example, where must cannot be used, like in the past tense. Will can be paraphrased into be going to, be to, or be about to. They all are a little bit different, but the idea here is that all these structures paraphrase the idea that will expresses. So will tells us that the action is in the future and is desired by the subject. So it expresses willingness to do something, or capacity to do something, or readiness to do something. These three, be going to, be to, and be about to, express a very similar idea. So they say that something is ready to happen in the nearest future. Something will be ready to happen in the nearest future. Should can be paraphrased into be likely, be probable, or be supposed to. Should expresses a piece of advice or a suggestion, something that is recommended or is a good idea. Be likely, be probable, be supposed to express similar things. May and might, possibility, and permission or prohibition, as well as these structures, be possible and be allowed to. Can and could express ability, as well as be able to or manage to. It's more than just an ability to do something. Manage to expresses that the action has been completed. So the completion of the action and its success. Okay. Let's begin with have got to. Have got to means to be forced to do something. We use this structure when we speak about something which is expected, something which is necessary. Usually we use have got to when the circumstances force us to do something, or some moral obligation forces us to behave in a particular way. Let's look at the examples. She has to wear glasses for reading. She has got to wear glasses for reading. So the circumstances, her health forces her to wear glasses. If she doesn't wear glasses, she can't see. So she has to wear glasses, or she has got to wear glasses. I had to wake up earlier yesterday. I had an early flight to London. I was forced to wake up earlier. The circumstances yesterday forced me to wake up earlier because I needed to fly. We didn't have to bring our laptops with us for the class. We didn't have to. Here, have to is used in its negative form, and to negate it we use an auxiliary verb, did, as we are talking about the past. We didn't have to bring our laptops. We were not forced to. It was not obligatory, it was not necessary to bring the laptops to the class because we either didn't work with laptops or there were laptops in the class, so we didn't have to take ours with us. They will have to wait for a while, the manager is busy. They will have to, the circumstances force them to wait. Do you have to wear a uniform or have you got to wear a uniform? Are you forced to wear a uniform? In other words, let's see how have to and must differ. You must wear glasses while driving. You have to wear glasses to see the road ahead. The idea is the same. Yeah, we must, because this is obligatory, this is expected. You can replace must with have to. Must I do it today, or do I have to do it today? Again, they express the same idea here. Yeah, there is some kind of obligation or necessity. I must do it or I have to do it today. We had to check the car before our road trip to Nova Scotia. We had to. So here, obviously, we cannot use must because must is not used in the past. To express an obligation or necessity, we would use have to in its past form. We had to check the car before our road trip to Nova Scotia. You will have to fasten your seatbelt before landing. You will have to. This is a rule, yeah? You must do it. But we cannot use must in the future, so we use will have to. You will have to fasten your seatbelt before landing. When we speak about the difference between must and have to, we mostly speak about two things. First, we use have to where must is not used, that is in the past and in the future. And we also use have to when we want to stress that these are circumstances or other people that believe that the action is necessary, not we. When we think that the action is necessary, we truly believe that it is necessary. We prefer must. We also use must when we give a strong piece of advice. Oh, you must watch this movie. This is a good one. Yeah, you will like it, I'm sure. You must. We don't say you have to. Have to is used instead of the modal verb must in the past or in the future and expresses rules, obligation, or necessity. I must finish the work today equals I have to finish the work today. But we would say I had to come to the office yesterday if we were talking about the past. I will have to check the papers tomorrow. As I will say it again, we cannot use must in the past or in the future. Have got to is used in informal British English and has the same meaning. It is not used in the past or in the future. There is no rush, we haven't got to leave yet, but we didn't have to hurry up. Okay? Have got to does not equal have got. When I say I have got to do something, I mean I am obliged to do it. It is necessary to do it, yeah? But have got is a synonym of have. Let's see. Have got means have. They're equal in their meaning. Have got and have are main verbs. They are synonyms of to own or to possess. I have got a car means I have a car. Compare it now to I have got to go now. I have got to go. I must go now, right? This is an absolutely different idea. Have to and must have different shades of meaning in present. First of all, must is more formal than have to. Second of all, negative must and negative have to have completely different meanings. That's important. You must not come to the meeting tonight. It's only for the club members. This sentence means that non-members aren't allowed to come. It's prohibited. Must not expresses prohibition. You don't have to come to the meeting tonight means you may come if you wish, but it's not obligatory. Third of all, must is used to express a moral obligation, that is, something which is believed a right thing to do. Whereas have to may be used to say that the action is imposed onto a speaker by someone else or by the circumstances. I must be there with her when she is given birth. I hate to think that she may be left alone. The speaker here feels obliged to be present. It's his or her moral obligation to be there. I have to be present at the weekly meeting. My boss will be angry if I skip it again. The circumstances make them come to this meeting. But the person might not be really happy about this idea, right? I must go now. My kids are waiting for me. This is a sentence a mother or a father might say because parents feel obliged, they find it their moral obligation not to make their kids wait, or not to leave them alone. I have to go now. I wish I could stay longer. So my real desire is to stay, but I have to go now. So you see this difference between must and have to. When we say I must do it, we express obligation we believe in. When we say I have to, we show that the circumstances force us to do something, but we ourselves don't necessarily believe that it is a correct thing to do. This is the difference between must and have to. Okay, be bound to means to be certain to happen, to be inevitable. Inevitable is something that we cannot avoid. She's very inattentive. She's bound to make lots of mistakes in the report. They were bound to fall in love with each other. They spent too much time together. He has such a unique voice. He's bound to become a famous singer. I'll ask my friend. He's into history and is bound to know the answer. The prices are bound to go up next year. It's inevitable. Sooner or later, an earthquake was bound to happen. Without proper management, any business is bound to fail. What do we see in all of these sentences? We see a situation which seems to be inevitable or unavoidable. We see something that we expected to happen. We also can use the modal verb must when we speak about something we are pretty sure of, like somebody's knocking at my door and I'm saying, oh, that must be Fred. Why? Because I was expecting Fred. Okay, so in all these situations, I will say it again, we see something which we expected to happen, something which was pretty clear for us, something very certain. She's very inattentive, she's bound to make lots of mistakes, so it's inevitable that she will make mistakes. They were bound to fall in love with each other, they spend too much time together. It's inevitable, for people to start liking each other when they have a lot of communication. He has such a unique voice, he's bound to become a famous singer. I believe this thing is certain to happen, because his voice is unique and somebody will definitely see that, and he will become famous. I'll ask my friend, he's into history and is bound to know the answer. It is certain for me that my friend knows the answer to this question because he's an expert in history. The prices are bound to go up next year. It's inevitable. the sentence might be said by somebody who knows the market very well. It is inevitable for them that the prices will go up. Sooner or later, an earthquake was bound to happen. Understandable, right? So there are some processes that were going on under the surface of the earth, and inevitably an earthquake was bound to happen. Without proper management, any business is bound to fail. Inevitably, it will fail. Yeah, it is certain to fail if it has bad management. Now let's pay closer attention to the word bound. The adjective bound means tied or secured. Please pay attention that it can be used with two different prepositions, for and to. So if it is used with for, bound for, it is followed by a destination. For example, the ship is bound for Hamburg. The plane was bound for New York. It was a London-bound train. It was late and he was bound for home. In these sentences, we speak about somebody's destination, that he or she was tied, to a particular place or had a particular direction. The ship is bound for Hamburg. Its destination is Hamburg. The plane was bound for New York. Its destination, the plane's destination is New York here. A London-bound train, we can create such a beautiful adjective. London-bound or New York-bound train, that is a train that goes to London. Somebody can be bound for home, meaning he or she is coming home. Bound to is followed by something or somebody. The security guard was found bound to a pole. So somebody bound them to a pole in order to steal something, for example. She's left her hometown long ago, but her heart remained bound to it. Her heart remained tied to something, to her hometown. Knowing the meaning of these adjectives and how they are used will facilitate the usage of be bound to. So you can easily draw this parallel between be bound to and the adjective bound, meaning tied to something or secured. Okay. Please pay attention that the adjective bound derives from the verb to bind, and it is an irregular verb. To bind, bound, bound. To sum this up, let's look at the text you all know very well, I'm sure, and let's read the translation. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. To tie them together in the darkness. Okay, be bound to is also a part of several expressions, so let's see. I am bound to say. This phrase can be used in a situation where we feel obliged to say something. I'm bound to say I thought better of you. I'm bound to say. Like I have to say, I have to admit it, I thought better of you. I'm bound to say that our grandmother was very disappointed with his behavior. I have to say it, I'm obliged to say it. To be bound and determined. It's an American phrase meaning that you are really determined to do something, especially when we speak about something difficult. I am bound and determined to win this competition. They were bound and determined to immigrate to the USA. It was not an easy task, but they were very determined to do it. They wanted it very much. Okay, be going to is another periphrastic modal or modal phrase that we'll be talking about today. And be going to can express two things. First of all, we use it to talk about plans and arrangements for the nearest future. And second of all, we use it to predict the things we expect to happen. Let's see what I mean. I will read the golden bell one day. The future simple tense, right? I'm reading an interesting book now. It's the present continuous tense, which denotes an action in present. I'm reading now. We are reading To Kill the Mockingbird in the class tomorrow. This is also the present continuous, but it tells us about something which is yet to come. The present continues to denote an action in the future. I am going to read something relaxing tonight. This is our be going to, which expresses an action planned or arranged for the nearest future. If we compare this sentence, I'm going to read something relaxing tonight, to all the previous sentences, we'll see that here all four sentences talk about the future, about an action which will happen in the future, but they talk about it differently. The first sentence, I will read, expresses something undetermined. I will one day, probably. Will expresses our desire to do something, our readiness to do something. But this sentence doesn't really mean that the action will be performed. I am reading speaks about the present, but present continuous can also express an action in the future. Yeah, that's why it's in our list. I said all the sentences speak about the future, but except this one, yeah, I just use it to illustrate the present continuous. We are reading To Kill the Mockingbird in the class tomorrow. Here we use the present continuous in order to express an action in the nearest future, which is pre-planned. And I'm going to read something relaxing tonight is also talking about an action in the future, which is pre-planned. What would be the difference between we are reading the To Kill the Mockingbird in the class and I'm going to read something relaxing tonight? You can easily spot the difference in these two sentences. We are reading, we are talking about a group of people, so obviously we had some kind of arrangement or a schedule. Yeah, it is written in our schedule, or the teacher told us that it's a kind of an arrangement, yeah, we have with our teacher. I am going to read something. It's my plan. That's what I am going to do. I have thought about it. I have planned it, but will I do it? Probably yes. I have such an intention, but I didn't arrange it with anybody else, so it's only me. It's what I am hoping to do. Now let's look at the second meaning of be going to predict things we expect to happen. Look, that monkey is going to jump at him now. Going to is used here to predict an expected action. So we see what this monkey is doing and we feel sure about what is going to happen. So we predict the future. But we can use this going to only about the things which we can really be sure about. Yeah? So something that we see the proof of in the present. You cannot use be going to about something which will probably happen, yeah? Or something which seems to be obvious but will only happen in a year, 2, 3, 5, in a century, whatever. So we are talking about something which is going to happen next moment, something we can see with our own eyes. Be careful, you're gonna fall if you don't hold on to the railing. You're gonna fall, which is a colloquial form of going to. You're going to fall if you don't hold on to the railing. We can predict that looking at how the person behaves. Going to predicts a situation in the nearest future. B2. B2 expresses duties, formal arrangements, instructions, planned or scheduled events, and prohibition in negative sentences. The meeting is to take place in Paris in October. The theater is to be opened on the 10th of April. These letters are to be sent as soon as possible. Are these pills to be taken on an empty stomach? You are to answer the questions without using the internet. The new greenhouse is to be constructed by the end of July. You are not to speak like that in your grandmother's house. The tourists are not to travel around the city without a guide. B2 can be replaced with the modal verb must. It expresses the same thing, obligation, duty. It's quite formal, but at the same time a little bit more neutral than must. The meeting is to take place in Paris in October. The meeting must take place in Paris in October. These two sentences have different shades of meaning. Yeah, the first one is more neutral. It is decided so, yeah. It is scheduled for October. The theater is to be opened on the 10th of April according to a schedule. So in these sentences we don't have this component of obligation, yeah. Okay, be about to expresses future. This is something that is going or not going to happen very soon. Hurry up, the movie is just about to start. We have to go now. The train is about to leave. The wind is getting stronger. The weather is about to change. I was about to call him when he called me instead. This time tomorrow they will be about to land in Toronto. Why is the shop about to close down? I'm not about to pay $300 for an old armchair. He had been about to have a coffee when someone knocked at his door. He was afraid the dog might have been about to bite him. What should we remember about to be to? We can actually replace to be to with be going to, like something which is predicted to happen. But be to is much more formal. Let's see, the meeting is to take place in Paris in October. It's neutral, it's a formal sentence, yeah? The meeting is going to take place in Paris in October. It's not a formal sentence. The theater is to be opened on the 10th of April. It's a formal announcement, while the theater is going to be open sounds like a piece of news. These letters are to be sent as soon as possible. Another shade of meaning is added here, yeah, this like instruction or duty, yeah, this is something that must be done. It's not only expected it to happen, but it's like also it must be done, yeah. Be about to expresses something that is going or not going to happen very soon. Hurry up, the movie is just about to start. We have to go now, the train is about to leave. The wind is getting stronger, the weather is about to change. I was about to call him when he called me instead. This time tomorrow they will be about to land in Toronto. Why is the shop about to close down? I'm not about to pay $300 for an old armchair. He had been about to have a coffee when someone knocked at his door. He was afraid the dog might have been about to bite him. To be about to is a synonym of be going to. I underlined very soon here because compared to be going to, be about to expresses something which is going to happen like faster than something that is expressed by be going to, yeah. So there's no such a rule, but this is what you feel when you say I'm about to do something, yeah. You express something which you have almost started doing. I'm about to leave, and you're putting on your coat, yeah. I'm about to go now. The weather is about to change, so something has already started, yeah, and you can say that it's already changing. Pay attention to the negative example. That's the sentence, I'm not about to pay $300 for an old armchair. That's an exclamation. We can use I'm not about to in order to say that we don't want to and we will not. It's a synonym of won't, of the negative form of will. I won't pay, I refuse to pay that sum of money for such an old armchair. I'm not about to pay, the same. Okay, and as you can see, we can use it in different tenses, yeah, and in different situations. I will be about to land, yeah, or they will be about to land, or he had been about to have a coffee. We can use it with the modal verb in the last sentence. Yeah, he was afraid the dog might have been about to bite him. I will remind you that we cannot use two modal verbs together, but we can use a modal verb with a modal phrase or a periphrastic modal. Be due to. Be due to expresses something which is expected or scheduled to happen. It's similar to the previous structures. Let's first look at the examples. The plane is due to land at 3 p.m. We are due to hand in our essays today. Negotiations are due to start this week. The work was due to begin in January. One more restaurant is due to open downtown this year. The performance wasn't due to start for another hour. The cameras in the city aren't due to be installed until the end of February. Is your sister due to graduate this summer? What do you see in all of these examples? We see that all of these sentences express something which is written in a schedule. The plane is due to land. It has a particular schedule, and according to the schedule, it is due to land at 3 p.m. We are due to hand in our essays today. We have some schedule according to which we must hand in our essays today. And that is applicable to every single sentence in here. We speak about timetables, schedules, when we use due to. I will illustrate why. So the adjective due means expected or planned. You can use it in the sentences like these. The bus is due at 5 p.m. It is not necessary to say it is due to arrive or it is due to depart. It's due at 5 p.m. That means that the time for the bus is 5 p.m. Yeah, so the sentence doesn't tell us what we are going to do. Are we going to go somewhere, or are we expecting for someone to arrive, etc. We want to say that the bus is expected at 5 p.m. The rent is due today. It means that today, let's say, it is the 1st of a month, yeah, the 1st of, let's say, January, and we are to pay our rent on the 1st day of each month. So the rent is due today. The baby is due in 2 months. In pregnancy, we also have a kind of a schedule. As we saw it with to be bound to, yeah, the meaning that the adjective has here is the key to understanding where and how we should use the phrase with it. Okay, I want to draw your attention here to one important thing. Be due to doesn't equal due to. Due to means because of. Let's see. We are due to check out before 11 a.m. Their trip was due to start at noon. Here we talk about schedules. We were late due to extremely bad weather. Their trip was delayed due to travel restrictions. In these sentences, we speak about reasons why. We were late due to extremely bad weather. So, because of the bad weather was the reason why we were late. The trip was delayed due to travel restrictions, because of travel restrictions. So, this is another example of how a small word can change everything. Okay, be likely to is another phrasal modal or periphrastic modal. It means something which is probably going to happen soon. Probably. Again, we speak about the future and prediction of it, but we have this element here that expresses doubt. She is likely to become the first female president of the country. She will probably become the first female president. I don't think we are likely to get a refund. I don't believe it will happen. It is not likely. The construction of the second apartment block is unlikely to start this year. The house prices aren't likely to rise in the nearest future. We are likely to spend much more if we move to the capital. Your health is likely to improve if you live in a region with a mild climate. Are they likely to go back to Spain? I think they are more likely to return to Spain than to stay in the USA for another year. All these examples express somebody's beliefs and expectations about the future, yeah? Something probably will happen, according to somebody's words. We also may use "it is likely" plus that plus a clause to say that something is probably going to happen. Let's see. She is likely to become the first female president of the country. It is likely that she will become the first female president of the country. It is likely that plus a subordinate clause. She will become the first female president of the country. The construction is unlikely to start this year. It is unlikely that the construction will start this year. Likely can take a negative prefix. Yes, it is an adjective, it can take a negative prefix, and we can say to be unlikely to if we want to say that something probably will not happen. So it is unlikely that the construction will start this year. Yeah, I don't think that it will. Are they likely to return to Europe? Is it likely that they will return to Europe? The second versions are longer, but the choice depends on your language habits. Yeah? You might say, she is likely to become the first female president, or it is likely that she will become. Okay, let's move on. Be supposed to expresses something that is expected to or required to be done or believed to be done. Adults are supposed to protect the young. Each of the guests was supposed to bring their favorite dish. Companies are supposed to invest in training for their employees. Children under 12 are not supposed to be home alone. The gymnasium is supposed to have been founded in the 5th century Anno Domini. You wouldn't have any troubles finding your things if you put them where they are supposed to be. When applying to a graduate school, you will be supposed to submit your old grades. She was supposed to have left the country. What am I supposed to do with this thing? What's that supposed to mean? Okay, we can replace be supposed to with should where it is possible, but we should remember that should is a modal verb and we cannot, we don't have that freedom with modal verbs. Yeah, there are a lot of rules that we discussed in our previous lessons that make it impossible to use should in some tenses or in some situations, yeah, like for example when there is another modal verb. Let's pay attention to the last two questions here. What am I supposed to do with this thing? You would hear this question in a situation when your interlocutor, friend, your partner, whoever, might be very dissatisfied with an idea that you I've just suggested. What am I supposed to do, in this or that situation? What's that supposed to mean? You would say that when you find something which has just been said stupid or extremely unclear or unpleasant, when you can't explain somebody's behavior. Okay. Be meant to. Be meant to expresses something desirable, expected, or intended. It's also similar to should and ought to, but it is also synonymous to the expression it is destined to. Let's look at the examples. You are meant to take care of your younger sister when we are away. You are meant to, so you should. It's a kind of a thing that we consider to be your obligation. The party was meant to be a surprise. Why did you spill the beans? To spill the beans means to tell everything, to spoil the surprise, to disclose a secret. The party was meant to be a surprise, so it should have been a surprise. I was meant to bring you a souvenir from Morocco, but the airlines lost my luggage. I was meant to, I expected, I desired it, I wanted, and I expected that I would, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. The diagram is meant to show how rainwater is reused for domestic purposes. It should show. This information should be clear from the diagram. We were meant to live a prosperous life, but then the war started. So this expression might be used by some people to say that something was destined by God or by some forces that cannot be controlled, something from above. It was meant to be. I was never meant to be a soldier is the same. We can say that it was decided by God that I would become a soldier. She always knew that they were meant to be together, the same. We are talking about love, and when we talk about love, we tend to speak about fate or destiny. Are all people meant to have children? Should all people have children? Be meant to doesn't equal to be meant for something or somebody. Let's see the difference. This board game is meant for children aged 12 and under. Is meant for means that this game was created for the children aged 12 and under. Don't take it so seriously. This game is meant to be fun. Meant to be fun? This game should be fun. It is expected to be fun. I think this spoon is meant for oranges and grapefruits. It was made for oranges and grapefruits. It is the way we use it, to eat oranges and grapefruits. I was meant to buy some oranges for lunch, but I forgot. I was expected to buy some oranges, but I forgot. These are very different ideas, aren't they? Okay. Be allowed to expresses the same thing as may. It expresses permission, but it is used where the modal verb may cannot be used. In ancient Greece, only citizens were allowed to vote. There was a time when women were not allowed to wear pants. Students are not allowed to use their mobile phones during examination. Smoking on public transport is not allowed in many countries. I will be allowed to use my father's car if I fuel it. I don't think you'll be allowed to get a dog. The place isn't pet-friendly. If she had an open work permit, she'd be allowed to work in healthcare. People must be allowed to marry whoever they choose. May cannot be used in the future, and that's why we use be allowed to instead of it. But we do have a choice to use either may or be allowed to in the present. When we do choose to use be allowed to, we opt for a more formal option. Students are not, especially if it's a negative sentence, students are not allowed to use their mobile phones. Smoking is not allowed on public transport. Okay, be able to is an equivalent of can. It expresses ability or achievement. Let's see how it is used in the present, in the past, and in the future. In the present, she can speak 4 languages. She is able to speak for herself. I can't understand what they are talking about. I'm not able to hear them. The music is very loud. If we compare these 2 pairs of sentences, we will see that can expresses a more general ability. She can speak 4 languages. I can't understand what they are talking about. I don't have any knowledge to understand them. I don't have any background to understand them. I don't know the information they are talking about. The second sentences, she is able to speak for herself and I'm not able to hear them, express an ability in a particular situation, somebody's capability of something in a particular situation. She is able to speak for herself. I want to stress that she is capable of speaking for herself. She doesn't need anybody's help. In the second one, I'm not able to hear them. However hard I try, I'm not able to. We stress our inability to discern what they are talking about now. The music is very loud and it doesn't allow us to hear what they are talking about. Can is more general, while be able to first stresses somebody's capability of doing something, his or her ability to do something like physical ability, and is talking about a particular situation. Now let's look what happens in the past. She could read when she was 6. They could cross the border on foot. Though his feet were sore, he was able to walk. And though his feet were sore, he managed to walk 20 miles. So these 3 modal expressions, the modal verb could and the periphrastic modals was able to and managed to, express very different ideas. So let's see. She could read when she was 6 and they could cross the border on foot means that there was a possibility for them to perform an action in the past. She could read. We speak about her ability in the past. They could cross the border. We speak about the possibility that he had in the past. In the third sentence, though his feet were sore, he was able to walk. We stress his physical ability to perform a particular action in a particular situation. Usually we use it with the clause that has though, although, despite of, So we talk about a situation which is difficult, which is challenging. And the last example, though his feet were sore, he managed to walk, not only stresses somebody's physical ability to perform an action, but also tells us that the action was a success. In the future, cannot be used to express physical ability. So we can only use it where the present form is needed. If I don't have a good sleep, I cannot concentrate. This is a so-called zero conditional, a situation which is always true. What if we want to say it in the first conditional? What if we want to speak about a situation which will be real on a particular condition? In this case, we won't be able to use can. We cannot say won't can. It's incorrect. We will have to say I won't be able to. If I don't have a good sleep, I won't be able to concentrate. I can't or I'm not able to provide you with more information today, but I will be able to do it tomorrow. Once again, though we can use be able to and can almost interchangeably in the present, we cannot use can in the future. Manage to. Manage to expresses an ability or achievement, a success in doing something. I was late, but we managed to find an open supermarket. It was late for the class, but I managed to sneak to the classroom unnoticed by the teacher. Some animals somehow managed to escape from their cages. The ship sank, but the crew managed to survive. He has managed to get everything in life he's ever wanted. Please stop this affair with your boss's wife. I won't manage to help you if he discovers the truth. How did you manage to find such a well-paid job? Don't worry for this swindler. He'll manage. Okay, we see that manage to expresses not only somebody's ability to do something, but also a successful result of this action. It was late, but we were able to find an open supermarket. Not only were we able, but we actually managed to, so managed to kind of stresses that we were successful in finding an open restaurant. I was late for the class, but I managed to sneak. I was successful in sneaking unnoticed by the teacher. Pay attention to the last example, please. Don't worry for the swindler, he'll manage. We don't say what he will manage to do. Manage can be used in this way, like by itself, without to and without another verb. And it means that he will be okay. He'll manage. Everything will be okay with him. Now I want to illustrate the difference between be able to, manage to, and can, using the example from the history of the Roman Empire, particularly of the city of Pompeii. It is said that the citizens of Pompeii could see bursts of smoke on top of the nearby mountain, but they didn't know that the mountain in fact was a volcano that was about to erupt. Some of the citizens managed to leave the city by sea and survived. Those who didn't leave early or chose to stay in Pompeii died from suffocation, as they were not able to breathe in thick smoke mixed with ash. In 1863, Giuseppe Fiorelli managed to recreate the forms of the victims' bodies by injecting plaster into occasional voids in the ash layer. We can see them exhibited in the Antiquarium of Pompeii. Today, with 3D scans and photogrammetry, scientists are able to, or can, build real models of these people's faces. So, let's discuss it a little bit. In the first sentence, we say that people could see. We only speak about a possibility. We don't know whether they really saw the bursts or not. We presume that living by a volcano, they must have seen something going on, So here we speak about general ability or possibility in the past. We are not talking about an action which was completed, or about some success of something in the past, or particular physical ability in a particular situation. Some of the citizens managed to leave the city. In this sentence, we do speak about something which was done. They succeeded in leaving. Yes, some of the citizens did leave the city. They managed to leave. Those who didn't leave early or chose to stay in Pompeii died from suffocation, as they were not able to breathe. We speak about a particular situation in which people were unable to breathe. In 1863, Giuseppe Fiorelli managed to recreate the forms of the victims' bodies. We speak about an action which was successfully performed in the past. We can see them exhibited in the antiquarium of Pompeii today. We can. Today, we have such a possibility, or we can come to Pompeii and see these forms, right? Today, with 3D scans and photogrammetry, scientists are able to or can build real models. Are able to and can are interchangeable here. They express physical ability to do something in present. So we have discussed 12 periphrastic modals or modal phrases. As I said, I tried to make this list exhaustive, but if you still have any questions about some of the phrases that you might have heard but you don't know how to use, please ask your questions down below. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next lesson.